for listening to us, and I don't misunderstand me. I like both these guys. You know, we have a tendency to demonize each other in this business, but it's hard to with these guys because they're good guys. And I'm not going to waste any more time in my closing statement asking Mr. Gibbs whether or not he's got any business at all with the Bush economic policies. But I am going to say something about just a real general, in a very general sense, well, I think one of the differences between me and my opponents. Mr. Gibbs talks a lot, and he'll mention it again in his closing. You watch, about creating wealth. And it's an imperative to create wealth. And, you know, while we all would like to be wealthy, the truth is that most of the people that I know in southeastern Ohio, east central Ohio, are more concerned about feeding their families, sending their kids to college, saving for retirement, maybe buying their own home, than they are about getting wealthy. That really is the American dream, being able to provide for your family, retire with dignity, and that's all they're looking for. And that's all I'm looking out for. You may not agree with me on everything I voted on. In fact, I'd be really surprised if any one of you agreed with me on everything I voted on. But you can't suggest that I'm beholden to my party, because my voting record and actions disprove that. You can't suggest that I'm beholden to special interests, because everything I do, everything, is viewed through the prism of how it affects my constituents first. I'm asking for another 2 years to continue with the plan that we've begun, a plan that we think has the potential to make this district a district where my kids, when they get out of college, can come back, earn a living, be blessed with the kind of community that I was as a child growing up here in Ohio 18. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here tonight, too, and I think I'm partly going to answer that question because there's two distinct differences here between me and Congressman Space. You know, the government, since he's been in office, government's grown, taxes are growing, spending has gone through the roof, we all know that. But let's look back. In January 2007, Nancy Pelosi became Speaker and Zach took office. Unemployment was 4.6%, it is now 9.6%. There was 26.5 million people on food stamps. Today there's almost 42 million people on food stamps. That goes back, people losing their jobs, and I'm concerned about these people that don't have a job and looking for work, are underemployed and going in the soup lines. And we need to, I'd rather see people have a paycheck than have to worry about if the food stamps budget's going to make it through the month. Let's look at another figure. In January 2007, the federal deficit was annual federal deficit was $151 billion. This past July, the monthly deficit was $164 billion. Do the math. In the less than 2 years, they've added $3 trillion to the debt, and we've lost 3 million jobs in the private sector. You can say, you can use all figures and say, are things getting better? I don't think things are getting better. Everybody out here is very fearful of the future, and that's why you've got people rising up, because they know something's broken in Washington, D.C. And what's broken in Washington, D.C., besides the budget, is the process and the arrogance of Washington, D.C., where so many of our elected members think they know better than people out here. And when they shove things like health care down their throat, now this is the first time it affects 1/6 of our economy, every American, the way it was designed, affects every American, and not one person in the minority party, the Republican Party, voted for it. That ought to be a red flag right there. That's the first time in the history of this country something, a major piece of legislation that big, was shoved down our throats in such a partisan manner. That has to change. And I ask for your vote November 2nd to help me bring certainty back, confidence back, and get people back to work, because that's what it's all about. And that gives us national security, and it enhances and secures our constitutional freedoms. Thank you.
Again, thanks to all three of you for taking the time out to be with us here. I know, again, as large as the district is, it can be a challenge to be everywhere.